Leland Klassen's comedy tournament.
Leland Klassen's comedy tournament.
Okay. Enjoy. It's exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Leland Klassen.
Welcome to the comedy tournament, the television show where we just don't do retakes. We don't believe in them. Welcome to the show. I'm excited you're here. I've done all kinds of different events. This past year, I've done a lot of ladies' nights. I've been doing a whole lot of ladies' nights, and they're fun. There's lots of energy when you do the ladies' nights. They're a lot of fun. Here's the one thing that's a little off for me on those. They always take the girls' bathroom away, the guys' bathroom away, and they make it a girls' bathroom for the night, right? So they take away, because it's so many women, and they all go in groups. I get it. Right? But so they take it away. But this is what they do. Some places, they were decorating the bathroom. Like, it wasn't good enough just to have our bathroom. They had to make it all fancy and smell good or whatever happens in a ladies' bathroom. Here's the one place I went in, and because I had to go. I snuck in at break because I had to go. So I snuck in there, and this is how they decorated it. They put in little scented candles in the urinals. Oh, nice little. Let's get that lit up. Let's light that up. It was crazy. You know how hard it was not to put that out? I'm just saying. It was... All right, well, we've got a fantastic comedian to start us off tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't you watch this and we'll get to know him.
Tonight's first competitor is a DJ from Calgary, Alberta, and received a bye into the second round. Johnny Mac.
My name is John Mackenzie Henderson, but I'm known as Johnny Mac.
Johnny Mac is a great writer. He's very, very clever, very funny.
Well, I'm very glad that I got a bye. That was great. The only thing is I don't really know what I'm up against now.
Johnny can bring it. That's all.
I'm going to tell jokes that are so funny that they're going to laugh until they are dead. I'm going to go down and I'm going to perform CPR, and then I'll be a hero.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Johnny Mac.
I wanted Leland's mic. I'm Johnny Mac. You probably recognize me. Because I have a generic face. People are always mistaking me for someone else. Strangers will come up to me on the street and say, "Excuse me, are you someone else?" I say, "No, it's me." I have a radio show. I don't know if you know this about radio, but we just make up the weather. Here's what you do. You just cover your bases, all right? Tomorrow, sun and cloud. Temperature, minus 30 degrees below freezing. As a low, high of plus 30 degrees. Sometimes I'll do something crazy and be like, "And tornadoes!" in parts of the city, so it might not hit you. Here's something about the weather. If you're dating, the best thing that can happen on a first date is getting caught in the rain. It's so fun and spontaneous. I can't believe it. It's raining. I'll cover you. After you're married, getting caught in the rain is the worst thing that can happen on a date. It's like, this is our one night out ruined. When we got married, as soon as we finished getting married, even at the reception, people started asking us very personal questions. Like, "Hey, you guys had your first fight yet? Huh? You been fighting? You fought?" I try to answer honestly. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we have fought. like last week, she claimed that she loved me more. I was like, no way, I love you more. We planned our wedding. First thing she said was, okay, we need to book a ballroom for the reception. I'm like, okay, well, let's think of places that have ballrooms. Chuck E. Cheese has a ballroom. McDonald's Play Place has a ballroom. Actually, maybe that was our first fight. She's always looking out for me, though, making sure I have enough socks. She bought this giant bag of socks from Costco, and it had a Ziploc-style resealable bag that it was in. It's not like you need to lock in the freshness. Are there people who, like, you know, finish and they take off their socks, put them back in the bag, zip, put it in the freezer? Our freezer had a leak, like the deep freeze downstairs. Started rusting. I had to clean it up. I used CLR. Now, I'm very skeptical of chemicals, so I read the package very carefully. It said, do not let come in contact with skin or eyes. Put on rubber gloves. And I tried not to make eye contact. But I accidentally did. I had to go to the eye doctor. While I was there, I asked them about laser eye surgery. And he's like, why do you need laser eye surgery? You have 20/20 vision. I said, yeah, but I don't have laser vision. He's like, what would you even do with lasers coming out of your eyes? I'm like, well, you could read data off CDs, or annoy people in the movie theater, or you could perform laser eye surgery on people. The only thing is you can't, like, stare at anything, or it might catch fire. Of course, then you want to stop, drop, and roll. Have you heard them say that? Is the stop, drop part really necessary? Can't they just say roll? Is it possible to roll without stopping and dropping? First time I heard it, the fire marshal came to our school. It was like, all right, kids, when you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. I'm like, whoa, when I'm on fire? I figured kids were spontaneously combusting. But I believe in fire prevention, so when you're on fire, you should not catch fire to begin with. But when you're a kid, they were always teaching you things that are supposed to make you feel better. Like, I grew up in an area with rattlesnakes, and they always said, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. You know, we just show it in different ways. When people get scared, we scream and run away. When a snake gets scared, they bite you and inject you with deadly venom. Didn't make me feel a lot better. Snakes are the worst. Just read the Bible. When I was a kid, I used to always ask about Bible times, but now that I think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense, you know? Because the Bible spans like 6,000 years. What I should have asked when I was a kid was, in the post-Babylonian exile, when Artaxerxes ruled over the Persian Empire from 405 to 359 BC, did they have microwaves then? I went to a Christian school, and my friends had very strict parents, you know? Like, one time I remember, they asked, if they heard the teacher say a bad word. I'm like, well, what was it? They're like, I'll give you a hint. It comes after son of a. I said, gun? They all laughed, because they're not allowed to say gun. We had lots of fun, though. Like, for most people, a fortnight means every 2 weeks. But for us, it's when we would build a fort out of couch cushions every 2 weeks. My sister would be like, hey, you guys, you having your slumber party tonight? I'm like, it's not a slumber party. Boys don't have slumber parties. We have all-nighters. And it's not something you have, it's something you pull, like a bank robbery. And slumber parties makes it sound like you're playing Truth or Dare and giggling. When guys play Truth or Dare, we just always pick Dare. Like, I dare you to wrestle a bear. Or, I dare you to lift a car. Or, I dare you to tell me which girl you like. Thanks, you've been great.
Johnny Mac. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Johnny Mac. Here we are, round two. Judges, what do you think?
Johnny, hey, I thought you had a great delivery. Your timing's really good. You got me on I don't know what point it was, but you got me on a giggle fit. So and that's great. You had some great observational humor, and you pulled me in with I think it was the snake part, but there was something in there. I should have wrote down that part, but I had a giggle fit. So that's huge. That's huge. You know, on my comedians I sit through, and you know, you just as a comedian you don't laugh at a lot of comedians because you see so much. Now my one constructive criticism would be I think there's a few jokes you have that I don't think you've mined them quite enough, like your rain date night. I think there's just you got to mind that more for a better punch on that, and your laser eye thing. I think there's something there about set something up about you and because you do some stuff about your wife before that. You can be staring into her eyes and then come back to the laser eyes and then make it more there's something there about staring into your wife's eyes with laser eyes. I think that you can mind that more. But I liked a lot of what you did. Great delivery, great timing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Bone. What do you got for us?
Funny stuff, Johnny, funny stuff. There was a couple of things you did that I thought were really great. I thought your segues were wonderful. One of the hardest things about comedy is when it comes time to switch subject matters or switch premises is to not make an audience think you're just switching gears on them real quick. And you went from subject to subject that had nothing to do with each other in such a smooth way that I think after a while the audience was like, you know what, you're talking about something totally different, but I'm gonna go with you because it was so smooth. And your punchlines, they were so literal that they was misdirection. It's like, okay, you're doing a joke about laser surgery. Surely you're not gonna say nothing about laser eyes, because that would be he said laser vision. Okay. And it was so a different take on doing comedy that a lot of times we sit back and be like, okay, what's the joke? How you gonna flip it? And you didn't flip it on us. You actually came at us and it caught us off guard. It was a really cool way of doing comedy. Really liked it, man.
Thank you.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Thank you, Bone. Aaron?
Very, very likable. Very likable. I liked you immediately. And,
talking about me now or Johnny?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you want me to talk about Johnny?
Sure,
I could talk about you
let's
too.
Let's know what you think about him.
Sure, you're okay. No, you're very likable and great delivery. I thought your character up there was great. I think subject matter wise, emotionally, you got greater laughs on the stuff that was a little more explosive emotionally. Catching fire, getting bit by snakes and stuff. The stuff that struck fear into our primal fear. That's the stuff that was making people laugh really hard. Your other observational stuff, it's funny, but it's not driving the audience enough. So I would write more towards a little more topics that are a little more emotionally gripping. But the stuff you write, one of my favorite lines was about the ballroom thing. That was fantastic. Because you could just picture your wife just being mortified by you bringing there. And that's dangerous, mortifying your wife. So that's why it's funny. So, but great stuff, man. I think it's great stuff.
Thanks. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Darren. And that was Johnny Mac, and we'll be back with more Comedy Tournament right after this. Welcome back to the Comedy Tournament. Everybody. I recently had a visit to the doctor, and the doctor finally diagnosed me. He says, he told me, I think you're a hypochondriac. And I knew it had to be something. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for this diagnosis, so that was good to get that off my back. He prescribed me some placebos for my hypochondria. I think it's just making it worse, I'll be honest with you. I have a doctor who talks. He answers in questions, and you just can't take anything. He's so. What do you think? I think maybe you've got some fasciitis. Like he's looking for me to go. I concur. Okay. I had a doctor once when I first moved out to this new place. I didn't have a doctor yet. I went to this place. I was having some, like, I don't know what it was, anxiety attacks or something. I was just, my heart was racing. So I went in to talk to him about it because it happened a couple times, little attacks. And I was like, can you help me out here? I got this and that. And it was crazy, but he listened for a while. Then he finally said to me, well, I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. No, it's not. Even if I went to medical school, and here's the thing about him, even if he went to medical school and barely got through and just barely passed, maybe cheated on a bunch of tests, his guess is still gonna be better than mine. Anyway, folks, my guess is that we're gonna have a battle royale right now. We had our bye already. We watched Johnny Mac, and now his competitor. Let's find out a little more about him, and then we'll get into it. Here he is.
Tonight's second competitor defeated James McNeil in round 1. Brian Work.
Brian.
Who is Brian Work again?
Brian got beat up a lot in high school, middle school, probably last week.
He seems to me to be a Muppet that was brought to life somehow.
That's just what you do to people that talk like that.
He's likely someone I would have hung out with in high school.
I think Brian's in the contest just as a favor to me. I was like, you want to do it? And he was like, sure.
Brian Work's got a quirky delivery, and he's so much fun to watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Work.
Thank you, folks. Good evening. Pleasure to be with you folks here tonight. My name's Brian Work. I am a proud Canadian. Love Canada. However, Canadians, we have some crazy thinking. I know we do. One of the crazy things that we think as Canadians is we're probably the only place in the world that thinks global warming is a good thing. We also have some crazy thoughts. This is just wrong, but this is crazy thinking that Canadians have. Only in Canada is the designated driver the guy that's only drinking beer. Just wrong. My wife and I have been married for 10 years, and we've had our shares of ups and downs. And we've found that the way through ups and downs is just through commitment, through prayer, and through being able to laugh together. So as an example of that, a while ago, our house burnt down. It was a very sad time in our life. Our house burnt completely down, and we were fortunate enough to have a church body that took us in right away. And they took us over to a couple's house, and the couple was a little awkward about it, and they said the strangest thing. They met us at the door, and they were like, "Oh, I'm almost embarrassed to let you into our house. It's a bit of a mess." You should see our house. It's a disaster. How many coffee drinkers do we have out there? Coffee drinkers, make some noise. I love the coffee. I refuse to drink the expensive coffee, though. I'm a Timmy's boy. I like coffee, but I decided to treat myself today. I went downtown, bought one of the world's finest coffees, Blue Mountain Jamaican coffee. Came to $6.85 for a cup. When did drug dealers get involved in the coffee world? I was stunned. I asked the guy how much a pound of beans was. He had said $276. But then he said that's not the worst. The worst coffee bean out there is one from Indonesia. This goes through a very special refining process. I don't want to gross you out here or anything. But cats walk along. They eat the coffee beans. Then they poop them out. People then have to sort through that to get to the coffee beans. You think your job is lousy? Imagine these poor guys. What do you have to look forward to in your day? Hey, buddy, want a coffee break? Crap, no. This guy tried to sell me a pound of these beans. They retail for $600 a pound. I'm a skeptic. My first thought was, for $600 a pound, how do I really know that these beans have been pooped through a cat? Then I thought, what sick world am I living in where I'm worrying that they haven't been pooped through a cat? Wrong, I tell you. I am so excited to be with you folks here at church tonight, celebrating comedy and Christ. This is neat. For a large part of my life, I walked away from God, and I'm so glad to be back. One of the things that I fell into when I was away from God was gambling. Not a good thing. I knew I had a problem, though, because in where I came from, I used to play the VLTs, and I used to play them, and I would stare at the numbers, and right beside it, there was a gambling poster helpline. And this is what it said. It says, if you have a problem with gambling, call this number. The number is 1-800-306-6789. Now, I knew I had a problem, and so one day, I decided to call. And I was looking at the number and thinking to myself, wait a minute, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hey, if I had a 5 or a 10, I've got it straight. But I did call, because I had a problem, but they weren't helpful. They told me on the line, yes, hello, your name? My name is Brian. What's your gambling problem? Okay, well, you see, I have a straight, but I think my buddy's got a flush. What should I do? They didn't like that telephone call. Although the lady told me, well, raise him, he's bluffing. But I worked for a while as a youth pastor, loved working as a pastor, loved working with kids. I did. I once took 75 kids down to Mexico for a 2-week work vacation, and I found out some interesting things. On the way back from Ciudad Juarez into Texas, the border guard stopped us. They said, where are you from? We said, Canada. He said, oh. And the border guard says, prove it. I'm like, well, here's my passport. He says, no, that's not good enough. So he wrote on a piece of paper a word, and he said, say this. And I was looking at it going, about? It's like, hey, you're Canadian. Go on through. I was looking at him thinking, if I'd known it was this easy to cross the border, I wouldn't have even bothered hiding the drugs. Just a joke, folks. Folks, you guys have been a very gracious crowd. Thanks for letting me share with you. My name's Brian Work.
Brian Work, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Brian Work. All right, thanks. Let's get judges, what do you say?
Brian, I love your voice. I think you've probably heard that before. But I mean,
inside jokes.
I mean that in the best possible way, though. You have the kind of voice that makes you like, oh, I just want to. I can't really do it, but I want to try to.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I want to try to do your voice. You've got something built in that a lot of comedians don't have, which is a very unique voice, and your material's very good. Now, did your house actually burn down?
Yes, it did. Yes. Yeah.
And you wrote one joke about it? Because I mean. I'm telling you this, if my house burns down, I'm going to have more than one joke.
He had a whole bunch more, but it went in the fire.
Okay. I've written them down. Shit. That was funny.
Thank you.
Leland,
you can use that.
Leland wins
about
tonight.
disaster.
Leland,
That's great.
I'm giving Leland a 10 for that one. Okay.
Leland wins.
Thanks very much, Thor. Bone.
I don't know why I keep using these fancy words. Inebriated curling women, the drunk curling women.
There's an 8-year-old kid. Like, I'm just trying to. I thought he might go.
No, I think he's sober. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I got confused.
Brian, one of the things that's really hard about doing comedy is locking into what you do. A lot of times in the beginning, people are so all over the place. It's like we don't know who you are. From your shirt to your pants to that belt, we know exactly who you are. And you have tapped into your Nerdville completely. We expect nothing else but straight nerd comedy. And straight nerd comedy.
This is a compliment.
It really is. It really is. Even Artie's like, well, I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, I guess that is straight nerd comedy. And you do it, and you do it well, and you sell it well, and it makes it very easy for us to just sit back, relax, and enjoy you. It's really difficult when you got to keep trying to figure out who the comic is. And it was a great premise of I stepped away from God, and then you went into the stuff that you probably did last week.
No.
But it was a great setup.
No, last night. No.
So it was really cool, man. You did a good job. And I actually like the fact that you brought something back, but you gave it a different twist, which lets us know you can do stuff and do more with it. You're not just a one-trick pony. Good job, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much, Bone. Darren, you wanna close out the comments?
Great character. Just super. Love your voice, like Thor said several times. And I think a couple things. On the gambling joke, you set that up, and it's a very long setup, and you had two really good punchlines. But I think you can get to those just a little quicker. And that's such a great premise, going back and forth with the person on the gambling line. There's got to be like 13, 14 other punchlines you can add to that. Because your premises are fantastic. We want to hear more punchlines, I think, when you get to the premises. And lastly, the thing about crossing the border, that's funny that he had you do the word to get past. But you just talked about being a youth pastor. When you said there's drugs in the trunk, that's a really nice surprise, but nobody believes it.
I know, yeah.
Who don't believe it?
Okay, well, Thor, or what is your name? Bone, you believe it.
Maybe that was when he had a gambling problem.
Or he was buying the beans of coffee.
I would come up with surprises that are more in line with who we know you to be and who you're portraying, because great joke writing. It's fantastic stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, judges, and thank you very much, Brian K. Work, everyone. We'll be back after this message with more Comedy Tournament. Welcome back to the Comedy Tournament. We've had our first compete in Johnny Mack. Give him a round of applause. He was here earlier. Returning for round 2, Brian Work was also here. Judges, you got to make a decision. Who's moving on to the semifinals?
Give us a second.
It was close.
It was very, very close. We did have we're not going to say, but it was very, very close. We weren't unanimous, but we've gone with Brian Work.
Brian Work, congratulations. You're moving on. Thanks very much. Johnny, amazing job. Thanks so much for coming down. We'll see you folks next time with more competition and more Comedy Tournament. Good night.
Next time on Leland Klassen's Comedy Tournament, it's the last 2 round 2 comics, Timmy Boyle and Joel Jeffrey. See you then.
Last time when I did this, I lost twice to 2 really, really great comedians that made me laugh.
I was fortunate enough to win. The judges debated a long time. It was very close, and Johnny was very, very funny, so I felt very fortunate to move on.
This time I thought I did the best I could, and I didn't win to this guy, and so I was very disappointed.